You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 75.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast this week. You may or may not have noticed, but we took a couple of weeks off from recording the podcast because guess what? Marshall went on vacation. How was it, Marshall? Did you have a fabulous time?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, we did have a fabulous time. It was really, sometimes 2 weeks could be too long because I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting back on track.
Yeah.
But we had a really wonderful time. Granted, we did eat a lot of stuff that I probably would not normally eat.
Yes.
Because we went to all of our favorite restaurants all the way down the coast. Because what we did.
So you took a driving trip down the coast?
We did.
Okay. Cool. And?
So, we had, I don't know if anybody knows this route. So we had, the Tillamook Cheese Factory on the way down. Uh-huh. And then we went to Seaside, which has like our most favorite bagel place. I mean, we pretty much ate our way through the vacation trip. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody else is dealing with this. Typically,
that happens
we go on
all the time.
Well, we usually go somewhere. We went to Mexico last year. We go to Vegas or something like that. Well, the prices of gas are really high. And so we decided just to take a driving trip and go down to our favorite, place along the ocean. But we pretty much ate our way through the vacation. Mm-hmm. And then by the time we got home, we were not feeling very well.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I know. We were really feeling bloated, and we didn't regret it though, because we did, we decided to do it. It was a splurge. Yes. And we got to eat all the most, greatest foods that we love. But now it's time to get back on track.
Right. So if you're like Marshall and you've been on a vacation and you need to get back on track, no problem. Don't beat yourself up about anything. Just go to Keep the Weight Off podcast episode 15, and I explain what to do to get yourself back on track and how to make sure that your vacations do not cause a whole bunch of weight gain. So that's the important piece of that is, just make sure you don't beat yourself up. Marshall is not beating herself up about it. She made some decisions ahead of time that she was going to have some splurges, which is not a problem unless you decide to beat yourself up about it. So just get yourself back on track.
Yeah, I would just love to add this because I know that this week, especially during the summertime, we hear a lot of patients that come in and say, okay, before, we get started, I just want to let you know, we just got back from vacation and, I ate a bunch of stuff I didn't plan on eating and they feel really guilty. And it's really, really important to know that when you have a splurge, that it's planned and you don't have to feel guilty about it and you can get back on track. Because I've probably heard that this week 10 times from patients coming in and saying, okay, I just wanted to let you know, just got back from vacation, so it's not going to be good. And I'm so proud of our patients that keep showing up after they come back from vacation, because I know how easy it would be to avoid coming in. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to those people that had the courage to come in, even though they were feeling that they had slipped, but it's not, it just happens. It's a journey.
Yeah, it is.
This is all a journey. It's, just go get cured and, eat everything right all the time. So I did the same thing myself, but I knew that I was going to do it because we were going to all of our favorite places that we like to eat. I mean, that's the route that we took. So now that we're back, it's time to get back on track and just do it quickly.
Thank you for saying that, because I do know so many people come in with their tail between their legs after vacations.
I know.
It's just not necessary. It's not necessary, No,
not at all.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Just get yourself back on track. As soon as you get home, I always say, go to the grocery store on your way, like if you're on a plane trip, just go to the grocery store on your way home from the airport. And if you're on a
Right.
car trip, go to the grocery store on your way, as soon as you're close to your house. Just go to
Right.
the grocery store first thing and get the food that you need. Because sometimes what happens for people is they get back from a vacation and they wait a few days before they go
Hmm.
get good, healthy food. And then they're eating fast food or whatever it might be. So just make sure that you get to the grocery store before you get home so that there isn't a question, right?
Right. And something else that I just wanted to point out that I heard that I was really proud of is that a lot of the stories that I heard from our patients is that they might not have been what they would consider perfect, but
Hmm.
they did a lot better than they would have before. And
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that is great that they say, well, if it would have been last year before I started my weight loss journey, then I would have totally gone here and eaten this or done that. And
Yeah.
I do also hear, okay, well, I may have eaten something that I wasn't supposed to eat, or I didn't think I was supposed to eat, but
Hmm.
I didn't eat as much of it, or I
Yeah.
avoided that one restaurant that we usually go to. So that's all progress. And I'm always
Hmm.
proud when I hear that. So, like
Yeah.
Angela was saying, don't beat yourself up over it. You just get back
Yeah.
on track once you get up, back from vacation
Yeah.
and, move it along.
And it's podcast episode 15 that you want to go back and listen to for all the details after you're done hearing this one, because this podcast, I have some really interesting information and stories about some of our patients and what happens to them during their weight loss journey. So today I wanted to talk about the importance of body composition testing. And I've really, really been focusing on this with our patients in the clinic and with our students in empowered weight loss, and especially our new students who are so used to checking their weight all the time, like several times a day. Sometimes I know I used to do that. I would get up in the morning and go to the bathroom and then weigh myself. And then I'd go eat breakfast and then I'd weigh myself. And then I'd go eat lunch and I'd weigh myself before and after my meals. I mean, it was insanity, the types of stuff I used to do.
I'm so guilty of that as well.
I know.
Yes.
And so, what I want everybody to know is that the scale does not tell the story of what's happening with your weight. And so, I want to explain what will tell the story of what's happening with your fat loss, because actually weighing yourself is one of the most misleading and inaccurate ways to tell if you're losing fat or not. And most of the time, it's actually totally inaccurate. So I'm going to give you an example. So last week, a woman came into the clinic. She's a 45-year-old woman. And when she initially came to the clinic a few months ago, she weighed 202 pounds. She's 5'3". So the fact that she weighed 202 pounds was really, really distressing to her. And so she wanted to get the weight off, right? And so I told her what to do, taught her exactly what to do. She went home and did it. And we followed up in 1 month and she brought back her food journal. Everything was looking good. And in that first month, she'd lost a lot of weight. She had lost 8.8 pounds, which for someone who's starting at 202 pounds, losing 8.8 pounds would seem to be really good. And she was very pleased. She was thrilled. Like a lot of times in these diet programs, they're like, you should lose 2 pounds a week. And I always laugh at that. But she had actually done that when you look at the scale. So we did a body composition test and it was awesome because she had actually lost some visceral fat, which is that bad fat that's in the abdomen that wreaks havoc on our metabolism, causes tons of inflammation. So when you start losing visceral fat, you just feel so much better because you're not having all of that inflammation that visceral fat is creating. So we knew things were going well in terms of fat loss. It would seem that everything was going great. But what I want you to know is that the body composition test showed a different story. It showed us that everything was not going well. And I want to explain because there was a problem going on that we would never have known about if we were only looking at her weight loss. So what was that problem? She'd lost 8.8 pounds. But what the body composition showed us was that that was not all fat loss. it turned out she'd lost 4.4 pounds of fat, which is awesome because that's a pound of fat loss on average every week, which is great. But the problem was that along with the fat loss, she was also losing lean muscle mass. She had actually lost 1.5 pounds of muscle mass along with her 4.4 pounds of fat. And that's way more muscle loss than I'm willing to tolerate. And I want you to think about it. Everybody think about it. If you lose 1.5 pounds of muscle with every 4 pounds of fat you lose, by the time you've lost 20 pounds of fat, you've lost 6 pounds of muscle. So think about that. Do you want to lose 6 pounds of muscle mass just to lose 20 pounds of fat? Muscle burns calories for you, even while you're sleeping. So you understand, Marshall, does this make sense?
Yes. So I guess I wanted to back up just for a second for anybody out there that doesn't know what a body composition test is.
Okay, so what is body composition testing? That's a really good question. We have a body composition machine in our clinic that it's called bioimpedance. And what that means is it's sending electrical signals through our bodies. And it's a very accurate way of figuring out exactly how much body fat you have and exactly how much water weight you have. Because water weight is a wild card. Your body's water weight fluctuates constantly all day, every day. And so, when I was getting on the scale and weighing myself several times a day, I wasn't measuring fat changes. I was measuring changes in water weight, really. So that's the wild card. And what our machine does is it tells us exactly how much body fat there is, exactly how much water weight there is, and then everything else is put into this category called dry lean mass. And dry lean mass is where we see changes in muscle mass. So that's what I was looking at with this particular patient's body composition testing. I could tell that she had lost 4.4 pounds of fat, and I could tell that she had lost 1.5 pounds of dry lean mass, and all the rest of the change was water weight. And so that's what I'm saying. Okay, the body composition test is showing us that she's losing way too much muscle mass. Does that make sense, Marshall?
Right. And for all you women out there, I think that this is such a wonderful way of testing because we all know that there are times of the month when we are holding more water. And we have patients that come in and they get on this, if they were to just get on the scale, they become very discouraged because they've done everything that they thought that they were supposed to be doing. And yet they have gone up in weight. So I always encourage them to get onto the body comp machine. And then it comes to find out they're holding water weight because it's that time of the month. Right. And they're so much more relieved because then they understand what's actually going on.
Exactly. So perfect. So I want you to imagine that you're losing, for every 4 pounds of fat you lose 1.5 pounds of muscle mass. This means that by the time you've lost 20 pounds of fat, you've lost 6 pounds of muscle mass. I'm not willing to tolerate that trade-off. And I hope you're not either. Whoever those of you who are listening to this podcast, I hope you're not willing to make that trade-off, because depending on the person, every pound of muscle can burn anywhere between 30 to 50 calories a day. And so for this woman, I calculated it was about 36 calories every day that she was, for every pound of muscle that she was burning an extra 36 calories a day. So losing 6 pounds of muscle means she'll be burning 200 calories less every day in exchange for the 20 pounds of fat loss.
So, Angela, I just wanted to ask this question. So what does that mean typically when that is happening? Why are you checking for that? Because I know that in your program, eating enough protein is extremely important. So from what I understand, when this is happening, it's that they are not getting enough protein, right?
That's one of the things that can be happening, yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I just really want to make sure that everybody understands that if you're only focused on your weight loss, you will do almost anything to lose weight. And you'll go to the gym and you'll get on. I used to do this. Get on the treadmill for an hour, 75 minutes, just to burn calories and starve yourself. And what happens is,
that's what I did.
You can lose fat, but you're going to lose way more muscle mass. And then what you've done when you've lost your muscle mass is you've just dropped your metabolism by several hundred calories every day, which means that and you've told your brain that you're not going to feed it and your brain wants to survive. Dr. Angela Golden talked about this whole idea of trying to run up the stairs while holding your breath. Like eventually you're going to have to breathe. Your brain's not going to let you not breathe. And so your brain is not going to let you continue to starve yourself like this. And eventually you're just going to eat and eat and eat and eat and put all of that fat back on plus more. So we end up putting our body in a famine state when we do this. And this is the problem with diets is that's what we end up doing. And so with each successive diet, you lose more muscle mass. And by the time you're done losing fat, you've dropped your basal metabolic rate by 500 calories a day, 800 calories a day. They did a Biggest Loser study where they found that the average Biggest Loser contestant dropped their basal metabolic rate by a crazy high amount. And there were people who, by the end of it, after they did a 6-year study, and the basal metabolic rate continues to drop even after people have lost all their fat. And there were people who it only took 800 calories a day to give their bodies what they needed just to maintain. Like that was all they could eat just to maintain.
Wow.
So this is the importance of making sure that you're doing this correctly. You do not want to lose your muscle mass, put your body in a famine state, and end up losing your basal metabolism. So I want to explain what happened to her next. I explained to her, you're losing way too much muscle. You're doing a great job with your fat loss. You're keeping your insulin levels down low. You're avoiding all the processed foods. You're doing a great job there, but we got to make some changes here. And so I gave her some advice, mostly about protein intake. Okay. And she went home to execute the plan. And so it was just this last week that I saw her again after she had a month to execute her new nutrition plan, right? And she had been focusing all month on her nutrition. She was developing some really great habits around meal planning, preparing her food ahead of time, but she hadn't lost any weight. She'd lost no weight. She was exactly the same weight that she had been the month before. So she had lost 8.8 pounds in the first month, which turned out to be 4.4 pounds of fat and 1.5 pounds of lean mass. The next month, she hadn't lost any weight at all. And she's like, oh my God, this isn't working at all, right? If you look at the scale. But luckily, she listens to me and she doesn't weigh herself. And she was blissfully unaware that she hadn't lost any weight. And she was thrilled that she was feeling so much better and her clothes were getting looser. And so we looked at her body composition testing. And between her visit in June and her visit in July, her weight had stayed exactly the same. She still weighed 193.2 pounds, which is what she'd weighed the month before. And, I had told her to eat more, and I had specifically told her to eat more protein. Most people would say, oh my gosh, I must be doing something wrong. I'm eating too much. I'm not losing weight. I must need to exercise more. The scale's not budging. And if they had a dietitian working with them or even some other weight loss expert on their team, that's the advice they would get. Everyone would agree with that assessment. Everyone except me, because I didn't agree with that. So here's what's interesting. The scale did not budge. The weight stayed exactly the same. But the body composition testing showed us an exciting story. She had actually lost 6.6 pounds of fat in the second month. So instead of losing 4.4 pounds of fat, she'd actually jumped up to 6.6 pounds of fat. And so her fat loss was even better. But even better than that, she had added 1.8 pounds of lean mass. So now she's not just losing fat, she's adding lean mass. This is awesome because her basal metabolic rate went up from 1,366 calories a day to 1,431 calories a day. So now, not only has she lost fat, but she's added precious muscle mass that allows her to burn an extra 65 calories a day just laying around doing nothing. I think that's pretty amazing, don't you?
Okay, this is really cool. I actually didn't know this part of it.
Yeah.
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 This
is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
No change on the bathroom scale at all, but awesome shifts in her metabolism and her capacity to burn calories and her fat loss. Okay.
Wow.
So that is totally and completely awesome. So this is the problem with calorie restriction and paying way too much attention to the scale. I never recommend setting goals for weight loss. You don't want weight loss. Really, you don't. You don't want weight loss. You want fat loss. You want lots of
Right.
lean muscle mass that will burn calories for you while you sleep. And in order to do this, you have to be very, very careful with your nutrition. That's what it takes, being very careful to nourish your body regularly and consistently. Your brain needs to know that you're going to feed it, or it will hold on to fat and burn off your muscle mass instead. So, do you want to know what this woman did to lose fat even faster, plus put on lean muscle mass? She did not start any strength training at all. She didn't go to the gym and pump a bunch of heavy iron. She didn't work her rear end off with a bunch of exercise. All she did was to add more food, specifically more protein. I had her add an extra serving of protein mid-afternoon. I call this the mid-afternoon protein booster dose. And in people who are losing muscle along with their fat, the brain seems to love this. It's like the brain sees that extra protein and says, oh, okay, we've got food. We don't have to be anxious or worried that we'll starve anymore. We can just let go of some of this extra fat and start building muscle mass again. It's just so reassuring to the brain. And I
Right.
see this time and time again, over and over. Doc, I'm not losing any weight. I cut my calories. I'm exercising more. Nothing's happening. And I'm here to tell you that a well-nourished body releases fat. A starving, overworked body burns muscle and holds on to fat. You cannot tell what's happening by using your bathroom scale. You've got to get body composition testing done. And you've got to do it regularly so you know what's really happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I remember this just happened just yesterday at the clinic.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Well, I wasn't in the clinic just yesterday, but I saw it the day before when I was in the clinic. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Do you remember the patient? And I think on the scale, she might have, lost maybe 1 pound or something, 1 pound
Yeah.
different. And she was very discouraged. So she
Yeah.
got on the body comp testing. And do you remember like how well she did, how much fat she had lost?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so amazing to see that, because I know that she was discouraged at
Right.
first just by getting on the scale. And then, I said, I think that maybe you should get on the body composition testing just to see what's going on. And by golly, she had lost, what was it like? Do you remember? It was,
I don't remember her specific. I didn't write it down.
my goodness, it was such an amazing number. She had lost 5 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
And gained a pound of muscle, I believe. So that, so therefore the weight on the scale didn't change, like just stepping on the scale didn't change much, but she had made so much progress that she wouldn't have known about otherwise. Plus her visceral fat had come down an entire point, which is super important. And you would not know that unless you got on the body comp machine.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what when I used to, because I became obsessed with that machine. When I was first started working with you, and I can't tell you like the stacks of them that I have, just because I was so interested in just seeing like these changes to see if what I was doing was, if it was right or wrong. So I remember I started out at, my visceral fat was 20, which it could have been a lot higher, because it just, 20 is high as it goes. And, as the years went by, so about, 3 years went by, I finally got it to a normal rate, or a normal number, not rate, excuse me. And I was so proud of that, because I got to, worked so hard and got to watch it come down. And I never would have known that information if I would have just been jumping on the scale at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's pretty important to do this test. Yeah.
Yes. So the body composition scale that we use is called the InBody 570. That one does have the measurement of visceral fat. InBody does make other machines that don't have a measurement of visceral fat. So just know that. And if you're interested in getting a body composition test done and monitoring your body composition, just go to inbodyusa.com, and they have a way of you like typing in your zip code or letting them know what your location is, and they will let you know where there's a facility near you. They have them, there are gyms and weight loss clinics and places that have these in-body machines. And you can expect to be charged a fee to get a body composition test done, but it's so worth it to get the data that you need. And I would not hesitate, because you don't want to lose muscle mass while you're losing your fat. You want to be nourishing your body correctly. You don't want to be trading muscle loss for fat loss. It's not a good trade-off. You want to do this correctly. And, there's so many dietitians and nutritionists and even weight loss specialists who are still so steeped in the calories in, calories out. Watch the scale. A pound of fat is 3,500 calories. You need to have a calorie deficit. They don't understand the physiology of the body. So you want to make sure that you understand the physiology of the body so that you're doing your weight loss journey in a way that you can sustain your weight loss and not end up gaining a whole bunch later. So is that making sense? I hope that makes sense to everybody. And again, this is something that we see in our clinic all the time. People work so hard and stress their bodies out trying to change that number on the scale. And it turns out that all that hard work is for naught because they're too focused on the scale weight.
And it's not sustainable doing it that way. I've done it, believe me. Don't do it that way, because if you are just trying to eat less and exercise more and you're not paying attention to how much protein, it was a totally different mindset back in the day when I was starving myself and I would, I'd get on the scale every single day. And the minute that something went off track, not only did I gain all that weight back and then some. So being able to monitor your fat loss through the body composition testing is a way that you can have sustainable weight loss, because you then, if there's, if you can kind of tweak it, like let's say you're not getting enough protein and you think that you are, because that happens a lot in some of our neuro patients. They think, okay, well, I was my first month, I'm coming back and I'm doing everything right. And then you see that they're really not getting enough protein in. They are losing a little too much
muscle mass.
Muscle mass, excuse me. And, and their visceral fat is not coming down like we would want it to. Yeah. Or they may be retaining water because they're not. So this is such a better way of being able to fine tune what is going on and really, take a breakdown and know what's going on. And this causes sustainable weight loss. It's really important to know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that ends our podcast for this week. Thank you all for listening in, and share this podcast. What you can do is to take a screenshot of the episode and post it on your social media, because I want more people understanding this, because we have way too many people in the weight loss world who are giving inaccurate advice and who are really messing up people's metabolism. And, the whole Biggest Loser thing just makes me so angry sometimes. We're just not given the correct advice, and we need to learn how to work with our bodies and not against them as we're in this process of getting this disease under control. Okay. So make sure that you share this episode with anybody that you see that's working way too hard to get the weight off. And we want you to get the weight off in the correct way and then learn how to keep it off. So we will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.